Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Deep Blue Renegade podcast. My name is Molly, also known as the Deep Blue Renegade, and I'd like to welcome you guys to episode 103. Today is Sunday, September 20th, and I am excited that you could join me today. It has been, I got some fiber mail this week, and it was Stitches, Texas this weekend, so I had quite a lot to show you guys. I'm drinking from the red coffee mug because I lost my sheet mug, I think, at the home improvement store, which is really sad. So now I have to use, like, the bajillion other mugs I own in my house. So, what is it? I am working on 2 knitting projects right now, but really, this doesn't quite feel like a knitting project anymore. So this is Squares on the Roll. It is a pattern. I don't even know the designer. Whatever. It is a baby blanket for my future niece, and it is coming along. I finally, what is it? So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 along the length, and then 4 along here sewed on. So I'm more than halfway now. I'm actually sewing it up along the diagonals. So I finished all the squares this week. Then I started to put it together. So I started at this corner, and I didn't quite like how that corner went on, so I figured out a different way for this next diagonal. And I was pretty happy with that, so that's what I've been doing for the rest of the blanket. So it's the case where I pick up stitches on all of the edges, which is what the pattern called for, but the pattern didn't necessarily call for this diagonal zigzaggy thing. And then on the outside corners, I increase on the wrong side, and on the inside corners, I decrease. So this means that it sort of builds up this, whatever, something. Oh, I shouldn't show that one. I should show this one. So it ends up building this little gusset, so to speak. And then all these colors end up getting mixed up, because they all do look pretty good together. So I figured it was a cool way to get everything together. And then I have this really long tail, which I'm then seaming the entire thing up as I go. So I have this really long tail, and then I will seam the next diagonal here, and then the next square here, and I think that'll be it. So this diagonal that I'm working on right now is the longest one. And then I have my assortment of squares. So this is how many squares I have left to incorporate into the blanket. But what is it? So I have 11 that are sewed all the way on, and 9 more to go. And then I'll pick up more stitches and knit another little band, and then sew on the next set of squares, and then pick up stitches, knit a little band, and so on and so forth. Depending on how much yarn I have left over, this is how much I have left right now. So I definitely have much more of the white, because I only made 6 squares out of the white. I'm pretty sure the gray will take me where I want to be, and then the green, I'm sure is fine as well. It just looks a little bit different because I haven't rewound the ball, because sometimes it's nice to rewind the ball. So it is coming along. I haven't weighed the balls of yarn recently. For whatever reason, I must have been taking less yarn when I was making the later squares, because I had 1.5 ounces left of the gray and the green, and I had 2.5 ounces left of the white. So or what is it? So that ends up making for what, 5.5 ounces of yarn to finish it off, whereas I started with, what is it, 8 point something more than half per ball. So there is, so it must have been less because my initial squares were coming in an ounce apiece. So we'll see how it comes together and how much yarn I have left, because it will probably take a bit more yarn in order to do the outside border. I'm not sure what sort of border I want to do, or if I will somewhat follow the one in the pattern. The pattern has you do something really strange because the yarn is a long striping, like a long striping yarn, so it doesn't necessarily make sense when using solids or Crazy Pants variegated to do that same sort of thing. Because you're supposed to basically join strips, and then you joined the long strips into square and whatever onto each other. But then the way that you ended up doing the long strips was in sections, and it didn't make a lot of sense to me, so I decided not to do it. My other knitting project is, actually I have to think for a moment on this one, so my other knitting project is that I'm knitting another dragon. So the pattern is Joris. I think Diane of Knittables was the one who ended up, making this popular among the podcasters. So it is, so I've done the head. I ended up, I finished the spike ball head, or the spike balls for the head, and then this morning I ended up finishing up the little snout. The only thing I did differently was I kitchenered the snout closed, and then after I finished kitchening, I sort of went through and made sure all of the stitches were perfect tension, which is something I wouldn't normally do with like socks or something. And it turns out that I picked up 4 too many stitches for this guy, so now I need to figure out what stitches are going to end up getting popped off, and where I should do that. I've been weaving in the ends as I go. Not like it really matters since it is a toy. I just want to make sure things are well hitched. And I'll be starting the neck sometime soon. Since I'll have to get past a decision, I probably need to get past the decision sometime tonight about which ones to switch out. And I'll be putting on, I think, the safety eyes, because I think those will look really nice with this. So, that is the story there. I'm using Mountain Colors Crazy Foot, which is the same I made the previous dragon out of. And I'm holding it doubled, so to make a nice big stuffy. And I should have enough, including my planned tail modification, because dragons have had tails now. No, excuse me. And it's been coming along. It was my carry-around project yesterday, so it was a good way to keep my hands busy. I'm going to put that there. So that's all of the knitting. Not sure if I should start another project or just hold off until the blanket's totally done. The blanket is actually ungainly enough, it's only living at home. So I ended up getting a lot of progress done on it simply because it was, I had a lot of free time this weekend, so. And by weekend, I actually mean week. So it was the case where it was like every night I was getting another section done, and now the sections have gone so long it's a little bit challenging to actually sit down and go through the entire process, so yeah. So it will get done. It's going to be done well ahead of schedule. Looking at how much yarn I have left, I'm probably not going to have to order more yarn, but I'm also not going to be able to make a coordinating baby sweater with this yarn either. So I'll have to do some digging around in the stash probably. I have some things that'll probably work. I just need to figure it out or something. Whether or not I want to, what is it? So I think it's the case where if I was to make like a baby surprise jacket, I would need sport in order to make a newborn size, and I would need worsted to make a 1-year size. But I think, I don't know, I've never made it before. But the short answer is you do have to select the right yarn for the size you make. Excuse me. And I figure a cardigan is probably a good choice for that sort of thing. Let's see. So, with respects to spinning, I did get some spinning done yesterday. Oh, this is my mountain colors here. My spinning is not here. Well, I'd like to show you guys, so yeah, I'll be right back. So, pause. Okie doke. Yeah, so it wasn't far, but it was not where all of my other knitting stuff was. So, what I have here is the Hello Yarn Falkland in the pigment colorway. It is the SSS, or SSK colorway, and it's definitely filling up my little Turkish spindle at this point. I had a rather interesting, or whatever, I had a nice discussion with Ken Ledbetter of KCL Woodworks, because we went by and were admiring all of the pretties, and for whatever reason the topic of Turkishes came up, and it was whatever, quite amazing for, say, for example, to be able to use the Jenkins thing, and apparently Ken is like on first name basis, so he's like, oh yeah, Edward does such a great job, and you should also check it, or you should also, what was it he was saying, we should also check out Jerry Brock as well. So, what is it, the makers of spindles want you to buy everyone's spindles, especially if they do a good job. I didn't end up picking up any of his spindles, but some of them were nice, so maybe some other time. But this is coming along. As for how much is left, I have 3 little balls left to spin. So one more big one, which I'll probably do second, and then 2 small ones. Because I ended up breaking the braid apart, and that was the way the colors fell. Still not sure how I'm gonna finish it, whether it's gonna be a 3-ply or a 2-ply. I'm guessing I'm probably making something color work with it, and it would probably make sense to 3-ply it. Not sure. And in that case, I'd probably end up not whole plying it. But it is coming slowly but surely along. I was doing a lot of catching up with podcasts, but that was blanket seaming time and not spinning time, unfortunately. But it's sounding like, what is that? My knit night, like I haven't been able to knit with my knit night ladies for quite some time. Due to whatever, all sorts of craziness and stuff like that. But it sounds like, at the very least, one of them should be able to show up next week, and that's, good enough for me. I sure hope I don't have any plans on Friday, but I probably don't. But knit night tends to be a good time to spin for me. I also ended up going to knit night at the local yarn shop, so that was an opportunity to spin as well. And it's hilarious to do it because some of the ladies who hang out at knit night at the what is it, Holly's yarn shop, are just like minds blown by spinning, blown. So, yeah, so that was funny. Let's see. I did finally finish something. So, Jose, I have 2 ounces now. I carded it today just for you because I know, what is it? It's sort of like, what is it? You know, the Yarn Harlot has all of these ladies who are regular commenters and stuff like that, like Rams, for example. I don't even know. So Jose is apparently the person who is keeping me accountable for making sure I finish the chocolate shell and fleece. And honestly, I don't have that much time. I have 10 more days to spin that, which shouldn't be a big deal. But me procrastinating on doing all the carding, whatever. Oh, this is so silly. So I have slightly more than 2 ounces, which is what I like to do. I think it's like 2.1 or something like that. I need to find the bowl I normally keep by my scale, because with these big grocery bags, it's a little bit hard to get it onto the pot scale. And I'll probably end up needing to relocate my wheel, because really I haven't spun my wheel for a month, which is a little bit sad. And whatever, it's just the case where I haven't been feeling like spinning chocolate shell and fleece. But now I don't have any excuses. So, that should be going on this week, just because I want to make sure that it's done in time. And then I can have my 8 little skeins for the pound-a-thon, even though I haven't yet knit the sweater. And maybe that ends up being one of those near-term upcoming projects, who knows. So, let me show you the bag. It was Stitches, Texas this weekend. And what was it? It was a pretty good mail week, as I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast. And there's the bag. So I ended up actually throwing one more thing in there because I was planning, and then my plan is now derailed. So, what is it? My mother-in-law is super duper sweet. She decided to surprise me with some fiber mail. So she ended up picking up some fiber and a destash from a mutual friend of ours. And so as a result, what was it? My mother-in-law bought one, and then our mutual friend sent another one along for the ride. So that was super duper sweet. So I ended up getting, what is it? So this is Wool Gatherings. Oh, that's why it doesn't make any sense. Oh my gosh. I totally had a brain fart. So I've never tried Wool Gatherings before, and I've never tried Southern Cross Fiber before. I got BFL top, 110 grams, in the Desert and Bloom colorway. So it is browns and oranges and burgundies, and sort of a magenta-y color as well. And I haven't even necessarily even opened it. So it is a club colorway from November of 2014. And I'm really excited to try Southern Cross Fiber. All sorts of wonderful things have been said about it. I'm a big fan of BFL anyways, so I'll have to be careful that it doesn't like blow away and crap, but so all, like, I won't say that it's my normal color range, but it should be very interesting to spin, and it'll probably end up being a sock spin, I'm guessing. Knowing me, oops, I'm getting caught in the flowers. So that is the story there. And definitely what is a decent amount of like variations in the shades of colors. And that was pretty. So I have to laugh a little bit about this because I ended up pulling out some Into the World. What is it? The Merino Bamboo Silk 50, 25, 25. And it turned out that what I actually was sent was wool gatherings in the exact same base. So this explains why it seemed like the colors were going to work, and they're a little bit different. So maybe they go together, but maybe not. So this is the wool gatherings, which I've also never tried before. But I'm getting the suspicion that wool gatherings and Into the World are actually getting fiber from the same place. So for them to have something so similar. So this is blues and greens, and some of the tag ends up hiding some of the blues in it as well. So it's sort of somewhere between like something a bit darker than a sky blue and then sort of a tealy green. So this will be really lovely to spin up. And based on how the colors are spread out in it, I'm sure it'll make for something, what is it, medicine tonal for like lace or something. So, and then I ended up pulling out my Into the World, because I was thinking they would go together, but I think this one here is a little bit too bright to go with the more jewel tones here. So, what is it? The greens are more soupy and the blues are deeper. So, like maybe it could go together, but I'm guessing not. So, yeah, I don't even think this is listed in my stash right now. So that's a shame on me moment. I need to actually put all of this stuff in my stash because I like having my stash up there. So that was a super duper exciting little present surprise thing, and I was like, when I opened up the mailbox, I'm like, that looks like fiber. I don't remember ordering fiber. When did I order fiber? And I, in fact, had not ordered fiber. Oh, silliness. So I ended up then opened it up, and then there was the note from our mutual friend, and then I ended up calling my mother-in-law, and I ended up whatever, PMing the mutual friend, and full of silliness. So what I'm going to show you guys next is actual stuff I got at DFW Fiberfest. So I ended up getting another skein of mustache. This time I got the Koi Pond in the perfect sock, and I didn't, I ended up going for the just perfectly normal one as opposed to the OCD skein, because I'm not really an OCD person. Ah man, the light, like the sun isn't out today, but it seems like the light is a little bit screwed up. But this is orange and sort of turquoise, and it ends up going through a gradient from white to the darker shade. So white to the medium orange, and then white to the turquoise. So the swatch really sold it for me. And I was coming by to enable Lindsay, who's in my knitting group, who I was hanging out with yesterday, and I was like, wait, that's the last skein. And then I went and asked whatever, Steph and Stacy, like, is this the last skein? And you're like, yep, someone found it. So it's like, oh crap, I better buy it then. And so then this was whatever my first purchase. Then, what is it? I ended up very, very carefully going through most of the booths at Stitches. I came across something which was just way too cool not to try. And it was the case where, what is it, Lindsay was enabling me pretty hard on this one, so. So this is 50% yak silk from Greenwood Fibers, and the shop owner was super duper sweet, and was so excited that this had actually been selected as a fiber to try in Spin-Off magazine, so, and because of the yak, it ends up having much darker tones in it, which I find to be interesting, and there's sort of a teal color in this, but there's no blue to speak of, or sort of a tealy blue, but definitely out of my normal color range. And it is so ridiculously soft. So that seems to be putting up the colors fairly well. So Lindsay was trying really hard to get me to buy this, and then I was like, I'm not sure about the colors, but then decided to go for it anyways. So I've had my camel silk experience, now I get to have a yak silk experience at some point. Then, in retribution, we ended up walking over to the Western Sky Knits thing, and I convinced Lindsay to buy a sock blank. And as I was talking with the dyers, because I think it's a pair of ladies, I went up there and was fondling the things because their colors are just really gorgeous. And then I asked them what their favorite fiber base was to spin. So one of them's like merino nylon, I'm like, nah. And then the other one's like, we have one more braid of the organic Polworth silk. And you were already holding the rainbow. You would like the rainbow, wouldn't you? And then I was like, oh, I'm sold. Like, I touched it, and then I was sold. So, really bright, crazy colors. True rainbow. Should be a ton of fun to spin. And it just feels lovely. So that was my, oh wait, it was almost my last purchase of the day. Let me rejigger and put the fiber back in the bag. Because it's rather windy today, so my little bag of fleece has been trying to blow away from me while I've been outside. I ended up doing the scavenger hunt. One moment, sorry. I ended up doing the scavenger hunt, or a bingo or something like that. So you're supposed to visit, like, I don't know if it was 12 or 16 booths. And then whenever you went to a booth, you're like, okay, what do I need to do to get a stamp? And in the Vintage Rose booth, you had to, the quest was to find something in the booth, take a picture of it on Instagram, and then tag it Stitches, Texas. So, this was what I ended up taking a picture of. So, these are Velociraptor earrings, trying to hold it steady, which were super, like, I don't know, they make me laugh. Velociraptors just make me laugh. And then I ended up also picking up, like, all of your earrings as well. I like crazy earrings. And the Velociraptors just cracked me up. So I went there and I was sitting, knitting with Lindsay, like, out, whatever, inside the market, but away from all the craziness. And then I'm, like, flipping through Instagram for some reason. I'm like, crap, I didn't buy those earrings. And, like, there were, like, 15 minutes left. So then I walked back to the Vintage Rose booth, and then I pulled out the earrings, and I checked the price. I'm like, oh, crap, I should buy another pair of earrings. So, So I ended up getting two because it was fairly reasonable in the grand scheme of things. So I'll have ball of yarn earrings, and then when I'm feeling snarky, I'll wear velociraptor earrings. But I'm trying to figure out the best place to put them. But that was what I ended up getting. I think I was only planning on buying one thing. But you know, like that awkward situation where you show up at a place. What is it? And like I had to pay $5 for parking. I ended up having a coupon, so I got into the market for $5. And you're like, man, I'm already $10 in. So I think my intention was to buy one lovely thing, and then that plan ended up changing as I was winding around very carefully looking at all the things. So I probably wouldn't have even wandered around the Vintage Rose booth, because I'm not really too much of a crazy stitch marker person, or whatever, with the little dangly things, which is what she is primarily known for in the knitting community, but like crazy earrings. I didn't know she made crazy earrings, so silliness. So she was savvy. She knew how to bingo right. So we'll find out whether or not I won the prize for doing the bingo. I think it was like $1,000 cash. So how can you go wrong with $1,000 cash and convince people to visit some booths, which they wouldn't have normally gone to? They sort of had a mixture of the really popular ones, and some more, what do you say? Oh, specialty ones, for lack of a better. I think specialty would be the right way. So, like, one of the ones was glass buttons. Another one was like a crochet, like a super modern, like crochet and knit designs. So, it works out. And it was a very lovely time enabling Lindsay, so whenever we came across something interesting, like I would, whatever, make sure to point it out. So she is a lover of gray. So it'd be the case like, oh, doesn't this look like a great skein of yarn? Or we were in a booth that I think was actually a shop that mostly does spinning, but they didn't end up bringing a lot of spinning stuff with them. I think the shop's like an hour north of Houston or something like that. And then we were looking at the different sock yarn and stuff like that, and then I pointed at the Cascade Heritage. I'm like, this is the best sock yarn you can buy for $11. Because it has a fantastic hand, it holds up, and it has lovely colors. They're solid. They're not semi-solid, but, what was it? Like, it just... For $11 for a 100-gram skein, I have bought $11 skeins of yarn, and they have been terrible, terrible. But Cascade, they have it down. They know what they're doing. They do a fan-freaking-tastic job. So, what is it? She ended up getting a set of Hiya interchangeable needles. She got the sharp tips. Because she doesn't like the Xiaogu. She loves the Xiaogu tips, but she doesn't love the Xiaogu tape cables. And I enabled her into a sock blank from Western Sky Knit, so the double knit kind, so that you can do 2 socks at a time, because that's what makes her excited. I don't know. So, I don't know, it's just fun to enable. We like spinning. She was trying to get me to spin stuff for her, and I'm like, yeah, no. So, but yeah, such is life. I'm trying to think of what else. So it was an entertaining time. Got to say hi to people. What is it? In the Stephen B booth, there was like this really cute hat that was on display. So it was the case where that's going to actually be in his new book. It's called like the Rockin' Slouch, so that was really cute. trying to think of what else, but nothing else is coming to mind. I didn't end up spending a lot of time in booths that were like in the area, because if I feel the need to go to a yarn store to get yarn fixed, then they're close by. It's not a big deal. It sounds like it might be a really fun field trip to actually go to that one spinning store north of Houston. Because, what was it, I was talking with the guy from there. It was just really cool talking with him, so. But not like I know any names at all. Another thing which I'm going to look into, so, what is it? So, I ended up getting a card from Independence Farmstead Fiber Mill, and they had some really gorgeous washed and somewhat processed fleece. It depends. I think the cloud is what they get after they pick it, and it wasn't turned into roving. So they do, so they're in Brenham, Texas. They have a 15% discount on orders over 10 pounds, but they could do washing, carding, dehairing, spinning of a 2 or 3 ply, or spinning of lace and fingering. And they had some Picora yarn, and they had already sold all of their Picora fiber, but I think that would be a really awesome way to dip my feet into that. So I have their card. I have their website too, so hopefully I can get in touch with them and figure it out, so it won't be too crazy. Apparently Greenwood Fiber Works is in Utah. And I need to have a little project card. So, what is it? So, what is it? So, I'm hoping that, I can get in touch with them, and when I'm ready, get Picora, to try to spin, so probably not a whole lot. I'd probably end up becoming something like a pretty thing or stuff like that, but, man, it felt nice. It felt really nice. So, I was ready to buy Picora fleece on the spot, and they just didn't have me, so that was the one miss on the purchases, so that's right there. So it was really interesting. It was my first time ever being to a Stitches event. I didn't end up taking any classes this year, and knitting classes don't tend to get me too excited, so I'm pretty independent, so I'll get excited about spinning classes, but not knitting classes. So trying to think of anything else I want to talk about. I should be able to record next week, so that'll be the 27th. Don't think there's going to be anything too crazy then. Hopefully I'll have a finished skein of yarn. Only 30 days in September. Anything else? Not that I can think of. So, I hope you guys have a lovely week, and I look forward to talking to you guys next week. So, take care, guys. Bye-bye.